Welcome, everybody, to the Burke Brigade, brought to you by the Liberty Daily,
your conservative alternative to the Drudge Report.
Visit thelibertydaily.com. Hello, everybody. I'm Matthew Burke.
And I'm Jennifer Burke.
And we are the Burke Brigade. Starting off tonight, we have this lovely piece of work. Boy, what a sweetheart of a gal she is, huh?
Right? Not.
So Kathy Griffin, the unfunny comedian who staged a bloody, gory beheading of American President Donald Trump, was in Australia giving an interview. And she is no longer sorry that she staged that bloody, gory beheading of an American president.
Right. She did her best ISIS impersonation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Did she learn that from ISIS? I think she did. So here's what old Cat had to say, Kathy Griffin. I'm no longer sorry. The whole outrage was BS. The whole thing got so blown out of proportion, and I lost everything. Griffin told the 7 Network in Australia about the incident in May. Like, I had Chelsea Clinton tweeting against me. Oh my God, the horror.
Oh no.
I had friends, Deborah Messing from Will and Grace, tweeting against me. The poor thing. Mm-hmm. The poor thing. It's unreal. So, did I say this is from the Washington Examiner? This is from the Washington Examiner. Griffin blamed hardcore Trump supporters for the fallout. Yeah, because we all know that,
Chelsea Clinton and Deborah Messing are hardcore Trump supporters.
Yeah, they're big Trumpers. She blamed Trump supporters for the fallout and her firing from CNN. Oh, by the way, yesterday she befriended...
Not befriended, defriended.
Defriended? Is that it? Yes. Defriended. Oh, yeah, defriended. Long day. It's nighttime here on the Burke Report. It's Monday. Burke Brigade. Oh, my God.
He really is tired, guys.
I forgot the name of our damn show. Monday, August 28th. So, here's what she said. Stop acting like my little picture is more important than talking about the actual atrocities that the President of the United States is committing. What atrocities? Getting rid of regulations?
She can't name them.
Here, let's listen to her.
She looks like a loon, by the way.
Absolute lunatic.
You apologise. Yeah. You were very upset. Are you no longer sorry for it?
Correct. I'm no longer sorry. The whole outrage was BS. The whole thing got so blown out of proportion, and I lost everybody. Like,
if it was all BS, why'd she apologize? Why'd she do that maniacal apology where, for 30 seconds she's crying, and the other 30 seconds later she's laughing like a...
He's a bully. He can't hurt me. He's a big bully to me. Which is it?
She's a lunatic.
I had Chelsea Clinton tweeting against me.
Oh.
I had friends. Deborah Messing from Will and Grace tweeting against me.
First of all, don't act like you have friends, okay?
I mean, I lost everybody. And so I have been through the mill. And I also, I didn't just lose like one night on CNN. My entire tour was canceled within 24 hours because every single theater got all these death threats. I mean, these Trump fans, they're hardcore. They have like robocalls, and they're a minority, but they know how to act like they're a majority.
Deborah Messing and Chelsea Clinton aren't Trump fans. Like, if even Democrats said it was out of line. I get that comedy is about pushing the boundaries and being politically incorrect, and that's fine. But do you not agree that that picture holding up a severed head, I know it's a mask covered in tomato sauce, but do you not accept that was a little bit over the line?
No, you're full of crap. Stop this. You know this. Stop acting like my little picture is more important than talking about the actual atrocities that the President of the United States is committing.
Yeah,
why did she apologize?
That's a way to win her over, Kathy. Tell her you're full of crap.
Yeah. Boy, what a smooth talker.
And I'm also on a mission to tell people, honestly, if it happened to me, as big mouth and obnoxious as I am, it can happen to you. Like, honestly, this is a big change.
Oh, you mean you could be beheaded too? Huh.
I've been talking to Australians who, for the first time, are saying, we're afraid to go to America. I never thought I would hear that in my lifetime.
So you see what she's doing here. She's burned her bridges in America.
Right.
So now she's trying to deport herself to Australia and try to drum up some kind of career there.
Yeah, some kind of sympathy. You notice she speaks in these generalities. She doesn't have any specific circumstances that she can refer to. She says it, therefore it's truth.
Utter shameful individual. Remember that apology she did? I mean, she's contradicting everything she said. She said it was over the top.
Yes, basically, Kathy Griffin, what you're saying is that you're a filthy liar who shouldn't be trusted or believed.
Yeah, or is off her bipolar medication. Okay, President Trump today defended his righteous pardon of Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who he referred to appropriately as a patriot. And just to stick it in the media's keister, the Democrat media complex, he rattled off a list of both Obama and Bill Clinton absolutely shameful and treasonous pardons that they did, like Obama pardoning, terrorists, thugs, and Bill Clinton, the big donor, Mark Rich, to his campaign is Money Man, who was a international fugitive. So the media, boy, they didn't like that today. Let's listen to President Trump.
Mr. President, thank you so much. President Niinistö, I have a question for you as well, but if I could start with President Trump. In the middle of Hurricane Harvey hitting on Friday night, you chose to pardon former Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I wonder if you could tell us what was behind your thinking for issuing a pardon for the sheriff, and as well, what do you say to your critics, even some in your own party, who say it was the wrong thing to do?
Well, a lot of people think it was the right thing to do, John. And actually, in the middle of a hurricane, even though it was a Friday evening, I assumed the ratings would be far higher than they would be normally. The hurricane was just starting. And I put it out that I had pardoned, as we say, Sheriff Joe. He's done a great job for the people of Arizona. He's very strong on borders, very strong on illegal immigration.
Which is why the media hates him.
Yep.
And the people here in Arizona where we live absolutely love the man.
He is loved in Arizona. I thought he was treated unbelievably unfairly when they came down with their big decision to go get him right before the election voting started, as you know. And he lost in a fairly close election. He would have...
Oh, and by the way, George Soros, Democrat money man, put in $2 million to Sheriff Joe's opponent, that Paul Penzone, who's a progressive leftist.
Just hammered him just before the election. I thought that was a very, very unfair thing to do. When I mentioned him the other night, you saw the massive crowd we had. The people went crazy when I said, what do you think of Sheriff Joe, or something to that effect. The place went absolutely crazy when I was in Arizona last week. And as far as pardons are concerned, I actually did this just before the meeting because I assumed that somebody would ask me the question. I didn't know it would be you, as you can attest. You didn't even know you were going to be called. But I thought I would. And, Sheriff Joe is a great veteran of the military, great law enforcement person, somebody that's won many, many elections in the state of Arizona. But I look at some of the other people that were pardoned over the years. And if you look at, as an example, President Clinton pardoned Mark Rich, who was charged with crimes going back decades, including illegally buying oil from Iran while it held 53 American hostages, wasn't allowed to do that. So
this is an American traitor,
Yep.
Should have been classified as an American traitor, Mark Rich, who Bill Clinton, and I remember that very, very well, he was on the run. He wasn't even in the United States. He was running from authorities outside the United States. But because he had given hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Clintons, he pardoned him.
That's what it boils down to for Bill and
it was actually funneled through his wife.
to the enemies of the United States. He was pardoned after his wife donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Clintons.
Exactly
then
right.
You have dangerous criminals. President Clinton pardoned Susan Rosenberg, a member of the weathered underground, charged as part of a bank.
Weather Underground. So that was the Bill Ayers.
Oh, the Bill Ayers.
Yeah, domestic terrorists.
Domestic terrorists.
Right.
White male domestic terrorists.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
Democrat.
you're right. You're right.
Call me.
Yeah, Connie Pinko.
It led to a guard and 2 police officers being killed.
No outrage there.
Drug dealer.
So no outrage there. This is the point he's trying to make. He's not trying to, as the media was saying, it was just sickening. You hear like Jake Tapper and these useful idiots. Oh, so is the president trying to say that Sheriff Joe Arpaio is comparable to those?
Oh my gosh, get over your idiotic selves.
That's what they were saying. That was the narrative. No, idiots. The point is, you get your panties in a bunch over an American patriot who was railroaded by the Obama regime, to defeat him in an election.
Yep.
Someone who was simply enforcing immigration laws, in other words, taking away Democrat voters, undocumented Democrats, and they don't like it. They don't like it. So it was a complete political hit job. You people in the media have no problem with that.
Nope.
But yet, when a terrorist gets pardoned, or an American traitor who is profiting America's sworn enemies, you kiss their rear ends because they have a D next to their name. And it's utterly disgraceful.
President Clinton commuted the sentence of Carlos Vignali, a central player in a cocaine ring that stretched from California to Minnesota.
No big deal.
Criminal leaker. You've heard the word leaker? President Obama commuted the sentence of Chelsea Manning, who leaked countless sensitive and classified documents to WikiLeaks, perhaps and others. But horrible, horrible thing that he did, commuted the sentence, and perhaps pardoned. President Obama commuted the sentence of Oscar Lopez Rivera, who was charged as part of a violent independence group from Puerto Rico responsible for 28 Chicago area bombings and many deaths.
So, deaths.
Right.
No big deal.
No
Why?
big deal.
Because he was a communist revolutionary.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal. That's just collateral damage. Oh, so, a few eggs got broken.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. Where was the media outrage about that?
The media wasn't even outraged. This is not pardoning, but when Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was killed as a result of Barack Obama and Eric Holder's illegal gun running scheme, Fast and Furious, that got guns in the hands of the Mexican drug cartel in an effort to undermine our Second Amendment.
Right.
And then they never called the family. To this day, the family's never heard from them. That was okay.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. So this is why Trump can get away with calling the media fake news. It's not just what they report, it's what they don't report, or it's
how they report.
It's how they report it, and it's over what they obsess about. Like now, they're obsessing about this Sheriff Joe Arpaio completely justified pardon, but yet these other pardons where they should have been obsessed over to really call out tyranny.
Right.
I mean, really abusing the presidential privilege of pardon by these leftists. They have no credibility.
They're so obsessed over this Sheriff Joe Arpaio pardon, and you notice they still don't talk much about Russia. They've abandoned that. Now they're latching onto this.
Russia,
much to the point that what's his first name? Smirkonish. What's his first name?
Michael.
Yeah. So Michael Egghead Smirkonish. Because if you look at his head, it looks like an egg. It's like perfectly like an egg. Get an egg out of your refrigerator, pull up a picture of Smirkonish, and compare it side by side.
He looks like
an egg.
He looks like who played the Coneheads on Saturday Night? On Saturday, Valdar, what was his name?
I don't remember. But anyway, to the point where he actually made light. Now, look at the images of what's happened in Houston, and even what happened in Rockport, and Victoria, and Corpus Christi. And Smirkonish thought it would be a bright idea to say, God lessened God lessened Hurricane Harvey to a Category 2 storm so we could focus on this Sheriff Joe pardoning. Really?
Yeah, in the Friday Night News Dump.
In the Friday Night News Dump. Newsflash, Smirkonish. Hurricane Harry has been Tropical Storm Harvey. Harvey has been Tropical Storm Harvey now for more than 2 days, and look at the damage it's inflicted, you idiotic buffoon. And horrifically, and Jennifer's from Houston. And we have family there. Thank God they're safe. It's supposed to get worse. Let's continue to hear the president.
In the 1970s and 1980s, Sheriff Joe is a patriot.
Amen.
Sheriff Joe loves our country.
Yep.
Sheriff Joe.
And it would have been nice if he said, and the others hate our country, and President Obama hated our country. And he pardoned those people because they hated the country. Good thing I'm not president, right?
Protected our borders. And Sheriff Joe was very unfairly treated by the Obama administration, especially right before an election that he would have won. So, and he was elected many times. So, I stand by my pardon of Sheriff Joe, and I think the people of Arizona who really know him best would agree with me. Thank you very much.
Amen, amen, and amen. All of that is exactly true, and the media can't face the reality.
Let's remind people, hon, or actually not remind, some people don't know this. So George Soros' hand-picked replacement of Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Paul Pinzone. Tell the good people who are listening how he refers to foreign invaders / illegal immigrants.
Aliens.
Oh, how does he refer to them?
As guests.
Guests.
I kid you not.
They are guests.
He referred to them here as guests. Now, a guest is not someone that breaks in.
Right. If someone broke into his home and he found him asleep on his couch, would he say, "Would you like a mint, sir? Because you, after all, you are my guest."
Yeah. Does he have a mint on their pillow when they want to ransack his house? Because I don't think if somebody breaks in, they're guests.
No.
I mean, they weren't invited in.
Not guests.
A guest is someone who's invited, right?
Is invited.
Unfreaking real. Speaking of Houston, Democrat Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner is getting blasted for basically telling citizens to stay put. And here's what, I mean, this is just unreal. Here's what he tweeted on Thursday as reports were coming in that turned out to be accurate that this was going to be a horrific storm, an epic storm of historic proportions. Here's Sylvester Turner on Twitter. Thursday, August 24th, 3:30 p.m. Ignore unfounded, unsourced weather predictions that have needlessly frightened Houstonians. Get info from trusted outlets. So he's downplaying it, right? He's telling people to lower their concern. Very next day, this is Friday. This is when the feces was starting to hit the fan. As late as Friday. This is August 25th.
At nearly noon, Texas time.
Yep, the Democrat mayor tweeted from his verified Twitter account, quote, "Please think twice before trying to leave Houston en masse. No evacuation orders have been issued for the city." So he's telling people to not evacuate. And how did that work out?
It's horrible.
So a contributor from The Hill, Kristen Tate, who is a Houston restaurant, she told Fox News on Monday that Mayor Sylvester Turner completely failed the city for not advising citizens to take the precautionary step of evacuating the area. Quote, "He didn't even call for a voluntary evacuation. We were getting mixed messages." And the mixed messages that she's most likely referring to is that Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, conservative, despite the Houston mayor's reckless statement, he did encourage Houstons to evacuate. So here's what Governor Abbott said on Friday. Even if an evacuation order hasn't been issued by your local official, if you're in an area between Corpus Christi and Houston, you need to strongly consider evacuating. So he's trying to, push people in the right direction without causing a political firestorm with the Houston mayor there. He's trying not to be too political about it, to his credit, but his message turned out to be the right one. Now, here's what the Harris County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management sent out on Twitter, insinuating that people should listen to the Houston mayor but not Governor Greg Abbott. They tweeted out, quote, "Local leaders know best," which may have lulled people into a false sense of security. So the Houston mayor is getting absolutely lit up. Very harsh critique on Twitter. Comments like, "How does Sylvester Turner sleep?" And there's a picture of a poor old lady sitting in a nursing home knitting with the water up to her knees. Another lady in a wheelchair with the water completely covering her legs. Because why? There was no evacuation order given.
Yeah, and I just went through his tweets. Well, let me go. This one was August 25th. I went through his tweets. I want to see if he still has those tweets up.
They're up. I wrote about it today.
They're still up?
Yeah. You can see them on thepolitistic.com. They're still up. So then here's kind of the best pushback. Isn't this the same kind of reckless behavior that led to Katrina to be such a nightmare? Local officials urging people not to evacuate. Remember the buses in New Orleans during Katrina?
In the schoolyard that were not mobilized as per the plan?
By Democrat Mayor Ray Nagin.
And then remember the Democrat governor of Louisiana at the time, who did not ask for federal assistance, because the governor has to first ask. The feds don't just swoop in. The governor has to ask for assistance. She did not ask for assistance. But what happened?
Then they blamed
Bush. The Democrat
Bush.
media complex blamed Bush. So then, when the feds tried to fly over the area to, surveillance, check it out, see how bad it was, idiots on the ground were shooting at them.
Yeah, just unreal. So, Ray Nagin, he left the buses stranded, and those buses could have been used to evacuate people from the devastating storm that was Katrina. And, oh, by the way, completely unrelated, I'm sure, but in 2014, Democrat former mayor of New Orleans was sentenced to 10 years in prison, not for his irresponsible handling of the Katrina disaster, but for fraud, bribery, and other related charges. So he's a real...
He's a real peach.
He's a real charmer, that one is. Wow, he's great. And while we're on the topic of the Houston mayor, the Houston Democrat mayor, honey, maybe you'd like to tell our vast listening audience about this story in which Sylvester Turner issued this important message. Bless you.
Sorry, guys.
I stand with the illegals.
Sorry.
Bless
Allergy
you.
Season. Yeah, so, even when shelters were first starting to open in Houston, there were liberals and national media who tried to, I think it was Greg Abbott who was being interviewed, and someone tried to, of course, insert, this fear-mongering when it comes to immigration and deportation and stuff. And she asked him, do people who may, whatever they call them now, do illegals, though she didn't say that word, have to fear deportation if they show up at a shelter? Like, do they have to choose sheltering their life in a safe environment or being deported? I mean, it was just ridiculous.
You mean if they're in this country illegally, do they have to fear deportation? The answer to that is,
well, yes, they have to fear deportation. But what she was saying was that she was insinuating that everyone entering a shelter in Houston would have their identification checked, and if they were illegal, they'd be kicked out and left to drown. That's what she was trying to say.
Right.
And that was shot down. The governor, said no or whatever. But it didn't stop old Sly Turner from saying,
"Old Sly,
there's absolutely no reason why any individual shouldn't call for help. I and others will be the first ones to stand up with you. If you need help and someone comes and they require help, and then for some reason, then somebody tries to deport them, I will represent them myself, okay?" There are tens of thousands of people in shelters across Houston, and there has not been one story of a person who was kicked out, booted, sent back into the flood waters, and said, "Fend for yourself, drown, or we'll deport you." That hasn't happened, Sly.
Right. So contrast these stories. So on one end of the scale, he's telling people before this horrific storm rolls in, don't evacuate, stay put and just drown to death. But if you're an illegal, I'll represent you. I'll stand by you.
Yeah.
So again, here's the Democrat Party. They hate America. They hate Americans, but they love illegal aliens because that is their voting base. Their voting base, they've screwed over every American who won't vote for them anymore. So the only people that will vote for them are illegal aliens.
Or they've used and abused black people. And for the record, once again, for those not listening or haven't listened or seen my picture, I am black. They've used and abused black people to the point where they figure, they're in our back pocket. We don't have to worry about their vote. That they just kick them to the wayside, and now they're moving on to the next group.
They've got them in that Democrat plantation, just like the old Democrat good old days. Except now they do slavery, in a little more creative, slicker fashion. So that is the Democrat mayor doing his best impersonation of Ray Nagin. So this is an interesting story. Peter King, Rhino establishment stooge Peter King, is in a little bit of a tiff or picked a fight with Senator Ted Cruz, constitutional conservative. Never a good idea when you're as dumb as Peter King, who has an F Liberty score at Conservative Review of 30%. 30% out of a possible 100. That's actually below other rhinos like John McCain. He's basically a liberal Democrat masquerading as a New York Republican. But nevertheless,
should you rather say masquerading as a Republican in New York?
Yeah, that's it. But he was hitting Cruz on Twitter the other day, because Cruz didn't vote for the funding of Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy, that hit New Jersey. I believe it was in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Could have been 15, I don't know. But the reason why Cruz didn't vote for it, for the relief effort, for the bill, I believe it was a $60 billion bill, is that it was laden with pork barrel spending. It had billions and billions and billions of dollars in pork barrel spending, and Cruz was asked about it, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park. But here's a few of the things that were in that Hurricane Sandy bill. The New York Post wrote about this at that time. There were $150 million for Alaska fisheries. What the hell does that have to do with Hurricane Sandy?
This is how dirty the government tries to operate while it raids your bank account.
Right, and this is why Cruz voted against it. He was fully for...
He said, take this out, and I'll vote for it right now.
Yep, but, of course, if they wanted Ted Cruz's vote, they could have removed the ridiculous waste like Jennifer said, but that's never an option for the big government liberals like Peter King. $41 million for U.S. military bases, including Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
Yeah, how's that going to help the poor people from Superstorm Sandy?
Not a damn bit. $5.2 million for the Obama Justice Department.
Oh, so they could go after the Tea Party more.
Yeah, or buy new furniture. $4 million for the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, because that is so related.
Right.
I mean,
that'll help people who.
That's
lost
really going to
everything,
help people
their
that
homes
had their
back.
house wiped out. $3.5 million for Homeland Security. The Homeland Security boondoggle. That again has nothing to do with Hurricane Sandy. And $2 million for the Smithsonian Institution in D.C. Those are just a few examples. So, liberal Republicans like Peter King joined with Democrats to put in every pet project they could in that bill.
They saw it as an opportunity. Oh, look, widespread devastation. Let's force people's hand to vote to give us our pork.
Yeah, never let a crisis go to waste. So they can use it to buy votes. And Ted Cruz, to his credit, cried foul. And to that, he is getting lambasted in the media today. They're calling him a hypocrite. And, the left is always, collusion. Here's CNN and MSNBC. I'm going to play the whole clip here. It's back to back, and they're asking Ted Cruz the exact same question. They're insinuating that he's a hypocrite because he voted against funding for Hurricane Sandy, but now he wants funding for Hurricane Harvey because it's in his home state.
And let me add that Peter King also basically said that Ted Cruz was not a good American because he wouldn't vote for his pork so he could, wipe his jaws with his grease with napkins.
Sucking on bacon. Okay, I mean, listen to this. It's so great. So the whole narrative is, oh, Senator, now that it's happening in your own backyard, have you gotten a soul? I mean, that's what they're trying to spin.
And Senator, I know because you've been in Washington for some time now that these debates come up over relief for disaster areas and so forth. I'm just curious if your perspective has changed at all when it comes to that need for quick disaster relief for a hard-hit area. I know during Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy, this became an issue where there were some Republicans in Texas who were opposed to that funding.
By the way, this is CNN from the Communist News Network, Jim Acosta, who recently did a hair dye job. He dyed out all his gray hair and went black.
And now many of those members of Congress would like to see help come in as quickly as possible. I know at that time you were one of those Republicans who were opposed to that emergency funding. What is your sense of it now? Is your perspective different now that you're seeing this happening in your home state?
Have you gotten a soul, Senator? Senator, have you gotten a heart now that it's hitting you? Good God.
Well, Jim, it's not accurate that there were Republicans opposed to hurricane funding. Every Republican, including Texas Republicans, agreed that hurricane funding is an important and critical role for the federal government, and that Hurricane Sandy, there were a great many people that were hurting from it. Now, there were a number of us who were concerned that that particular bill became a $50 billion bill that was filled with pork and unrelated spending that wasn't hurricane relief, that was simply local members of Congress spending on their pet projects, and 2/3 of what was spent in that bill had little or nothing to do with Hurricane Sandy. So
2/3 of that bill.
2/3. So these self-righteous people who want to act like they were the ones with a soul, who are kind-hearted, who wanted to watch out for all these poor people who suffered this devastating loss. Basically, just once again, as far too many people, as most people in government do, looked at those people like a freaking piggy bank or an ATM machine and said, "Oh yes, now's the time to get our pork." Two-thirds of a bill that was supposed to be to help the victims of Hurricane Superstorm Sandy was for pork.
So we're going to play...
You know what, Peter King? You should go and put your head under the freaking covers and never come the hell out. You are a disgrace. You should not have an R next to your name. Not all Republicans are great, but at least they're on the right side of the political aisle. You're masquerading as a Republican when you're basically, obviously, a Democrat.
I think he should have an R next to his name, but the R stands for...
Rat.
Retard or rhino. Okay, here we go.
Of course, the federal government has a critical role in disaster relief. It has before, and it should continue to. But you should not have members of Congress that are exploiting disasters to fund their pet projects. And so there'll be time for all those debates in Washington. Right now, Jim, the immediate focus is on preserving life and saving lives. There are still a substantial number of people here in Texas who are experiencing flooding. But let me say to the folks at home, if you're in an area that flooding is threatening your home, keep safe. Don't go up in the attic. A number of folks have done that. If you go up in the attic, you need to make sure you have an axe or some other way to get out, because the attic can be very dangerous. You can get trapped, and rescue workers can't get to you. If water is rising, you're safer on the roof than you are in the attic. And let me say, secondly, if you're in an area where floodwaters are rising, if at all possible, don't go in the car unless it's an absolute emergency. The most dangerous thing you can do is get in your car and drive into moving water. Moving water can be deceptive. You'll think you can make it through, and yet moving water can carry the car away, and it's the easiest and fastest way to risk the loss of life of you and your family is to drive into moving water. So listen to your local authorities, stay high and safe, and don't take a risk.
Do you hear, who's the guy, who is it?
Jim Acosta?
Yeah. Do you hear him just itching? Yeah, forget all that.
Yeah. Lives, who cares?
Yeah, forget it.
I want to make a political point here for the Democrat Party. I got this fax here today from Pelosi and Chucky Schemer, and they told me to hammer you with this question. So what you're going to see here, Ted Cruz is, obviously giving some very good advice here, and then you're going to see MSNBC's Katie Tur, T-U-R. She got the same facts from Pelosi and Schemer, and she's going to repeat the same talking point question that came straight out of the DNC.
That's all very good advice.
Final question, Senator. I know you're busy, and I want to let you get back to.
But I just got this fax from Pelosi, and she wants me to ask you this.
Doing everything you can out there. But a lot of people are pointing out that you voted against aid for Sandy after that catastrophic storm up in the Northeast, that package back in...
Now, listen to how argumentative her tone gets. If this was a Democrat on there, she'd be blowing him a big, greasy kiss.
2012. And they're pointing at you and saying you're asking for money now when you weren't willing to help the people in the Northeast. What do you have to say to that?
That's it. Shut the hell up.
Look, there's time for political sniping later. I think our focus needs to be on this crisis and this disaster.
These are people who needed money.
Learn your facts, Katie.
No, it actually is, Katie.
Learn your facts.
Katie, it actually is. I know you got the facts from Pelosi, but maybe you ought to do your research.
Needed funding right after that storm. I covered those people. Many of them, just like those in Houston, lost absolutely everything they owned.
You should see the little smirk on her face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're real compassionate, Kate.
Nice attempt at virtue signaling. Watch Cruz just very politely, professionally smack her down.
Well, Katie, of course that's right. And the accurate thing to say is that I and a number of others enthusiastically and emphatically supported hurricane relief. The hurricane relief and disaster relief has been a vital federal role for a long, long time, and it should continue. The problem with that particular bill is it became a $50 billion bill that was filled with unrelated pork. 2/3 of that bill had nothing to do with Sandy. And what I said then and still believe now is that it's not right for politicians to exploit a disaster and people are hurting to pay for their own political wish list. Disaster relief needs to be focused on the victims of disaster relief, and I supported that for Sandy, disaster relief there, and I would support that anywhere there's a major disaster without getting distracted by political unnecessary pork spending.
And Texas.
So, boom.
Boom.
Boom. Consider yourself educated, you evil witch. You evil witch with a capital B. Gosh, nothing but a political hack. Shameful. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Now, and I don't recall, did she have a show before Trump started pointing her out?
I don't know.
I thought she was just a reporter.
I'm no expert on MSNBC. Oh my gosh. So there was another interview, and I have it somewhere here, but I'm not going to belabor you with it. That another network, I don't for the life of me remember who it is, but there's another one where they ask Cruz the exact same question.
Journalist.
Yeah. So what we're going to do today is we're all going to hammer Ted Cruz with this same question because he fought against pork. See, but the way we're going to spin it is that he's a hater. He hates. He's got no soul. He's got no soul, and he wants people in his own backyard to drown. And besides that, he's a critic. He's a hypocrite. So that didn't work out too good. You know, if you want to make that work, CNN, just MSNBC, do what you normally do. Have this panel of clowns that repeat the same Democrat talking points over and over and over again, and then don't give Cruz the opportunity to respond. But if you're going to interview him, he's going to own you. He's going to kill you with logic and facts that make your head explode. And it's really fun to watch that happen. So, now, back to the violent wing of the...
speaking of anti-America.
Yeah, speaking of anti-America, the violence wing of the Democrat Party, the Antifa communist goons, who the media, with very few exceptions, will not admit that they are violent.
They're peace protesters.
Oh yeah, they're protesting against fascism. They don't like fascism. Of course, it's because they're communists. They're actually worse. They're communists. They hate America. Now, you don't have to believe me that they hate America, because on Sunday, here's what they're screeching.
All black, faces covered.
Yeah. Doing their ISIS impersonation. They look exactly like ISIS. And they're protesting against hate. But this is not hate in their mind. No Trump, no wall, no USA at all. No USA at all.
No USA at all. That they let the cat out of the bag.
Yep, they tipped their head.
What the left really wants. No America. That is why they're working so furiously to destroy America from within. And they got a little help from their friend Barack Obama when he was in the White House.
They got a lot of help. And they're getting a lot of help by the compliant Democrat media complex that greases the skids for them, because they are making them the moralists. They are giving them the moral high ground. They are saying, well, it's justified because, I mean, you know, like they do with the Democrat Party, they just repeat their talking points. They're fighting hate and fascism. No, they're not.
Right.
They've been pushing for a one world communist government for a long time.
Yeah, you notice that the media, including CNN and MSNBC, defended them when they were setting Berkeley on fire. And then when they went up against the white nationalist rally. That rally would have gotten no play. It would have been insignificant. It would have just been them there by themselves. Had Antifa not gone in, and then the media swarmed in to make it national news. It would have just. They have rallies all the time. They have things. They get permits. It's nothing. But Antifa had to go in, and that's when the media started describing them as peaceful. They were peace protesters.
Yeah.
CNN were shamed into changing their headline. They had a headline describing them as seeking peace through violence, as if that makes a damn bit of sense. So then, after that, they were like, oh, it was they went to what was it, Boston, and a free speech rally that had been planned long before the white nationalist rally in Charlottesville. Antifa then attacked, and the media gladly helped them as a white supremacist rally because, only white supremacists believe in free speech, I guess. But they think that free speech should be anything that they agree with. That's what they think. So then they traveled to California. And is this where this happened?
Berkeley.
Where there was a rally. Was this rally? A rally organized by a Japanese American that had 3 black speakers, one who I've been Facebook friends for quite a while, and 1 Hispanic speaker. And Nancy Pelosi and the mayor all described it as a white supremacist event. There should not be hate. People who want to spread hate shouldn't be allowed to speak.
Because free speech is hate. Free speech is hate. So if you believe in the First Amendment, you are for hate. The very right the very right that gives these idiots the right to do what they're doing, absent the violence, which they don't have a right to do that, but to, no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. God, they are good with their rhymes, right? But what the deal is there was an anti-Marxist rally that was supposed to happen in Berkeley.
That's right.
And they were
This
denied.
is a different one from California.
They were denied their permit. Well, this is what they showed up for Sunday.
Right.
They were denied their permit, and of course, Antifa, the America-hating communists, showed up to protest this anti-Marxist rally that didn't even happen. Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you a question. This is not a trick question. Who shows up to protest an anti-Marxist rally?
A Marxist.
Oh, bingo!
Now the trick question.
Bingo! So they are Marxists, but you'll never hear any criticism of that from the Democrats.
The leftist media, the Democrat media complex, including CNN and MSNBC and the Washington Post, had more anger, animosity, insults for the Tea Party. You remember homosexual anchor Anderson Cooper cracking homo jokes about the Tea Party, calling us teabaggers.
Right.
It was a funny deal. They had more animosity and anger and vitriol and
no violence
towards the Tea Party, which were peaceful people. We left places cleaner than we found them, who simply wanted to restrain government and get it within its constitutional boundaries.
Right.
They had more ugly things to say about us and attacking us, and then now they're actually defending and protecting actual avowed communists.
That's right. And at a Tea Party rally, you couldn't even find a cigarette butt. If there was a gum wrapper on the ground, somebody picked it up and threw it away. They left those grounds cleaner and better than they were before. These American organized group of Obama thugs, anti-American thugs, go around bashing in windows, terrorizing people, beating up people, chanting anti-American slogans, and all the media can do is give them a big French kiss.
Right.
It's unfreaking believable, and it's because they are Marxists, and the media is Marxist, and the Democrat Party is Marxist. So they're not going to criticize their violent wing because they have the same ideology. They're not going to disagree with them. It's just like polls show this. Yes, not all Muslims are violent. But you can look this up. There are a disturbing percentage of Muslims that while they are not committing the violence themselves, they do support the ideals of ISIS Islamic terrorists. Now, that's the same way it is with Democrats. They may not actually be, Pelosi may not be out there with her baseball bat, bashing in a Starbucks window.
No, she's sitting back in her $12,000 blouse, refusing to pay people who she owes money to, eating bonbons and figuring how she's going to pull the strings of the idiots who support her.
Right. But she's also not going to criticize this violence. Because she's for it.
She praised,
so silence is violence.
She praised Occupy Wall Street when they had to form rape-free zones, places where women could go where they didn't have to fear being raped.
Right. She's not going to criticize the Obama, Soros, goon squads. Absolute goon squads. Well, for that, everybody, we're going to wrap it up here. It's Monday, August 28th, episode 17 of The Burke Brigade, your alternative, or brought to you by The Liberty Daily.
Your alternative to The Drudge Report. And hey, can I end on a note?
Yes.
I want to end on a note. Guys, I'm not only from Texas, I'm from Houston. Houston is where I grew up. It's
Texas
home.
forever.
It's home, and it's really hard for me to look at the images and try to keep track with my family, my friends. I have friends that were evacuated by boat today when their
no thanks to the mayor.
Areas were flooded. It's just absolutely horrific. We heard that it was going to be biblical proportions. I didn't know if I believed it. I was like, come on, really? Is it? It is. It is a biblical proportions. I just saw a Facebook post talking about the perimeter around Houston and its surrounding areas. And within that perimeter is over 2,200 miles, I think it said. Like from Houston to, because you have to remember Victoria, Rockport, Refugio. It's crazy. And I just commend all those people who have driven miles. Police departments, city officials, news stations have put out a call to people. If you have a flat bottom boat, if you have a huge truck, not just a pickup truck, but a huge truck that can get through water, come and help. We need your help. We need your help so we can cover these events. We need your help so we can rescue people. And people have come far and wide from throughout Texas and from other states. And
what they call those coming on boats from Louisiana?
The Cajun Navy.
The Cajun Navy. I love that. I mean, that is so all-American.
To Houston to rescue people, and it's heartening. The media wants to talk about the division in America, and want to focus on Antifa. When Antifa were rioting once again in California and beating up reporters and Trump supporters. People were coming together in Texas showing love for neighbor. Doesn't matter the color at all. There's a picture of a black man carrying 2 white children out. Yeah. Real Americans, we don't see skin color.
The country's not nearly as divided as the media would tell you.
As the media would like you to believe. But please continue to keep Texas in your prayers. More rain is to come. The area cannot handle any more rain. There's going to be even more massive flooding. Just pray, please, for the people of Texas, that God may keep them safe.
Amen. And I looked it up today because we both lived in Seattle for quite some time, Seattle area, and we actually moved to Arizona because the rain is just unreal. I mean, it rains constantly with a short break in the summer, which are absolutely beautiful, but it just clouds and rains day after day, month after month for 9 months. So I looked it up today, like what is the annual rainfall in Seattle on average, and it's 36 inches for a whole year. For a whole year. So imagine this, and they've gotten like over 4 feet in some areas. In that area. So they've gotten all that rain for a year that we used to just bitch and moan about in Seattle. For a whole year, they got in just a few hours.
Yeah, and I still lived in Houston during Tropical Storm Allison in 2001. It was a slow-moving system. That's why when I saw some even conservative news outlets mocking the situation and saying Hurricane Harvey immediately submits to Texas upon making landfall, is downgraded to a Category 1. I'm like, you freaking idiots. You don't know the power of a tropical storm that is slow-moving and filled with massive amounts of rain, the damage that it can inflict. Look at Tropical Storm Allison in 2001, and you can see, and I saw a statistic just earlier today, in 2.5 days, Tropical Storm Harvey has had as much water and rain as Tropical Storm Allison did in 5. And it's still raining, and raining is going to continue for another couple of days. So if you can donate to the Red Cross, donate to Samaritan's Purse, donate to the GoFundMe. You can find an article from J.J. Watt. You Caring, I think, is the site he used to raise funds. Donate to Mercury One. Donate to help the people out in Texas. If you can't get there to help, I know I desperately, I want to be home.
I hear you.
I want to be home.
I hear you. All right, everybody. God bless you. God bless America, this great country where we still have some freedom left. Thank you for tuning into the Burke Brigade. Tune into the Liberty Daily, thelibertydaily.com.
And God bless Texas.
Amen.